In this video, you will discover why so many people work for decades, receive salaries every month, and still never manage to achieve true financial freedom. You will understand one of the most important lessons taught by Robert Kiyosaki. It is not how much you earn that determines your financial future. What truly matters is what you do with the money after it reaches your hands. We will talk about assets, financial education, investments, multiple income streams, and the habits that separate those who remain trapped by their paycheck from those who begin building wealth over time. And it all starts with a simple shift in mindset. The first point is understanding that earning money is not enough. This idea may seem strange because most people believe that all financial problems would be solved if they received a higher salary. They spend years waiting for a promotion, a raise, or an opportunity that will finally allow them to earn more. But notice something interesting. There are people who earn modest salaries and manage to build wealth. At the same time, there are people who earn a lot of money and remain in debt, worried and dependent on their next paycheck. If earning more were the only answer, anyone with a high income would be rich. But reality shows that this does not happen. According to Robert Kiyosaki, the real question is not how much you earn. The question is, what happens to the money after you receive it? Imagine two people who receive the exact same salary. The first uses almost all of the money to pay bills, make purchases, take on new installments, and improve their lifestyle. When the next month arrives, they need another paycheck to restart the cycle. The second person also pays their responsibilities, but sets aside a portion of the money to build something that can generate wealth in the future. After a few years, the two will be living in completely different realities, not because one earned more, but because one consumed almost everything they received, while the other transformed part of their income into assets. This is one of the greatest financial mistakes people make. They work hard to earn money, but they do not create a plan for the money after it arrives. It is like someone who fills a bucket with water every day without noticing there is a hole in the bottom. No matter how much they keep pouring in, the result will always be the same. Many people do exactly this with their salary. They receive, they spend, they receive again, they spend again, and repeat this cycle for years. Money comes in and goes out without leaving anything permanent behind. Kiyosaki teaches that the salary should be seen as a tool, not as a reward for immediate consumption. Every payment received represents an opportunity to buy assets, an opportunity to invest, an opportunity to learn something new, an opportunity to build a source of income that does not depend solely on hours worked. The problem is that most people use this opportunity only to increase their expenses. When they receive a raise, they buy more. When they receive a bonus, they spend more. When they receive extra income, they find a new way to consume. And so, even earning more, they continue without building wealth. That is why the first change you need to make is to stop looking at your salary only as money to spend. From now on, start seeing each payment as a building tool. Before thinking about what you want to buy, ask yourself, how can I use a portion of this money to improve my financial future? This simple question can completely change your trajectory, because wealth is not built only when you work. It begins to be built when the money you earned starts working for you. And that is exactly what we will talk about in the next step. The second point is directing a portion of every paycheck toward buying assets. This is one of the ideas most repeated by Robert Kiyosaki, and also one of the most ignored by most people. When the salary hits the account, the same thing usually happens. Bills are paid, some purchases are made, unexpected expenses arise, and at the end of the month, little or nothing is left. The problem is that when this pattern repeats for years, the person works a great deal but builds little wealth. Kiyosaki teaches that a portion of every paycheck should have a different destination. Instead of being consumed immediately, it should be used to acquire assets. But what is an asset? Simply put, an asset is something that has the potential to put money in your pocket. It could be an investment that generates returns. It could be a stake in a business. It could be a rental property. It could be a digital income stream. It could be anything that helps produce money in the future. The important thing is to understand that the asset works to strengthen your financial situation. Now think about what most people do when they receive a raise. They upgrade their phone, trade in their car, buy more clothes, take on new installments, or increase spending on leisure. None of that is necessarily wrong. The problem appears when all the money is directed toward consumption and nothing is used to build wealth. Imagine two people receiving a bonus of $1,000. The first decides to spend it all on purchases that will bring satisfaction for a few weeks. The second uses a portion to enjoy life, but directs another portion toward buying assets. A few years later, the difference between the two decisions can be enormous. One was left with only the memory of the purchases made. The other was left with assets that kept producing results. That is why financially intelligent people do not wait for money to be left over before investing. They invest first and organize the rest of their financial life afterward. They understand that if investing depends only on what is left over, it will probably never happen. People often say, "I will start investing when I earn more." But the truth is that the habit usually comes before the increase in income. Those who cannot set aside a small portion today will generally have difficulty setting aside a larger portion tomorrow. Financial discipline is not born when the salary increases. It is born when you decide to give the money you already receive a different purpose. Think of it as planting a tree. In the beginning, the seedling is small. It seems insignificant. It provides almost no shade and bears no fruit. But those who keep tending to it for years see something completely different emerge. Assets work the same way. In the beginning, the results may seem modest. However, with consistency, they begin to grow, produce income, and strengthen your wealth. That is why, starting with your next paycheck, ask yourself a simple question. What portion of this money will be used to buy assets? It does not matter if the amount is small at first. What matters is developing the habit that, over time, can transform a worker who depends only on a salary into someone who has income streams built by their own wealth. Because financial freedom does not begin when you buy more things. It begins when you start owning things that work for you. The third point is learning the difference between assets and liabilities. This may be one of the most important lessons in this entire video. Many people work hard for years, believing they are building wealth, when in reality they are accumulating more and more expenses. They buy something new, feel momentary satisfaction, and believe they are moving forward financially. But months later, they realize they need to work even harder to sustain everything they bought. This is exactly where the difference between assets and liabilities comes in. Robert Kiyosaki simplifies this idea in a way that anyone can understand. An asset puts money in your pocket. A liability takes money out of your pocket. It seems simple, but this definition has the power to completely change the way you make financial decisions. Imagine you buy something that requires maintenance, installments, fees, and constant expenses. Even if that item has value, it keeps taking money out of your account every month. Now imagine something that generates income, produces returns, or increases your cash flow. In that case, it is helping to put money in your pocket. The problem is that many people spend their entire lives buying liabilities and believing they are buying assets. They work to pay installments. Then they work to pay for maintenance. Then they work to pay interest. And before they know it, they are trapped in a cycle where they need to keep working just to sustain what they acquired. Kiyosaki often says that the rich focus first on acquiring assets, while many people ask, "What car should I buy?" What phone should I upgrade to? What new item should I get? Investors ask a different question. What asset can I buy that will increase my wealth? This shift in thinking seems small, but it produces completely different results over time. Imagine two people receiving the exact same salary for 10 years. The first uses almost all of their income to buy things that generate expenses. The second directs a portion of their salary toward buying assets every month. In the beginning, the difference may be nearly invisible, but as the years go by, the second person begins receiving returns, accumulating wealth, and creating new financial opportunities. Meanwhile, the first continues depending exclusively on the next paycheck. That is why Kiyosaki states that wealth is not built by work alone. It is built by ownership. The more assets you own, the more opportunities you create for money to work in your favor. This does not mean you can never buy something for your comfort or for your family. The issue is the order of priorities. Many people buy liabilities first and leave assets for later. The wealthy tend to do the opposite. First, they build assets. Then they allow the assets to help pay for the lifestyle they desire. This is a fundamental difference. When you buy a liability without having enough assets, you depend on your work to sustain it. When you have assets generating income, they can help finance your goals. That is why, from today on, before making an important purchase, try asking yourself a simple question. Will this put money in my pocket or take money out of my pocket? This question will not solve all your financial problems, but it can prevent many mistakes and help you make smarter decisions. Because those who learn to identify the difference between assets and liabilities begin to see money in a completely different way. And this change in perspective is often the first step toward building long-term wealth. The fourth point is avoiding lifestyle inflation. This is one of the reasons why many people earn more money over the years but continue to face the same financial problems. Perhaps you have already seen this happen. A person receives a salary raise and instead of strengthening their financial situation, immediately increases their expenses. They upgrade their phone, take on new installments, buy more things, go to more expensive places, and adapt their entire life to the new amount they are receiving. At first, everything seems great, but a few months later, that higher salary no longer seems enough, so they wait for another raise. When that raise arrives, the cycle repeats itself again, and so, even earning more, the person never manages to move forward financially. Kiyosaki warns precisely about this behavior. He teaches that increasing income is important, but increasing expenses at the same rate can prevent the building of wealth. Imagine two people who receive a raise of $500 per month. The first immediately uses the entire $500 to take on new expenses. The second continues living in practically the same way and directs a large portion of that amount toward investments and assets. After a few years, the difference between the two decisions can be enormous. One person will have a more expensive lifestyle to sustain. The other will have built wealth. This is why many people appear to earn well but live constantly worried about money. They increase their income, but they also increase their financial commitments. The result is that they remain dependent on the next paycheck. True freedom does not happen when you are able to spend more. It happens when you are able to keep more money working for you. Think of someone who receives a bonus at work. The most common reaction is to look for something to buy, but a person with a different financial mindset asks another question. How can I use part of this money to improve my future? This simple question can completely change the destination of extra income. Instead of turning all of it into consumption, they turn a portion of it into assets. And assets can keep producing benefits long after the excitement of the purchase fades away. This does not mean living without comfort or giving up everything you enjoy. The goal is not to make life difficult. The goal is to prevent every increase in income from being immediately turned into new financial obligations. Because the more fixed expenses you create, the more dependent you become on your salary. and the more dependent you are, the further away financial freedom becomes. That is why, when your income increases, resist the urge to spend it all immediately. Set aside a portion to invest. Set aside a portion to buy assets. Set aside a portion to strengthen your wealth. Let your money grow before you let your expenses grow. This is one of the most important differences between those who simply earn money and those who truly build wealth. And it is precisely this mindset that paves the way for our next and final point. We have reached the fifth and final point. Make money work for you, and do not depend on a single source of income. This is perhaps the central message of Robert Kiyosaki's teachings. Most people spend their entire lives working for money. They wake up early, work long hours, receive a salary, and repeat this cycle month after month, year after year. There is nothing wrong with working. The problem arises when work becomes the only source of survival. If your entire financial life depends exclusively on one salary, any change can cause worry. A reduction in income, an economic crisis, or a shift in the job market can directly affect your finances. That is why Kiyosaki teaches that true security does not lie solely in having a job. True security lies in owning assets and multiple income streams. Imagine a farmer who has only one single crop. If something happens to it, their entire production is at risk. Now imagine another farmer who has several different crops. If one of them faces difficulties, they still have other sources producing results. The same happens with money. When you depend on only one source of income, your financial life becomes more vulnerable. But when you begin building investments, assets, businesses, or other forms of income, you create more stability and more opportunities for the future. That is why so many financially successful people do not depend solely on a salary. They own assets that keep working even while they are sleeping, traveling, or spending time with family. In the beginning, this may seem far from your reality. Perhaps you are thinking, I am still trying to organize my finances. And that is fine. No one builds financial freedom overnight. It is built step by step. First, you learn to manage your money better. Then you begin setting aside a portion of your income. Next, you buy your first assets. You keep studying financial education. You avoid increasing your expenses unnecessarily, and gradually you begin creating new income streams. Over time, the money that used to be entirely consumed begins to be directed toward building wealth, and that wealth begins to produce results. This is exactly how money begins to work for you. Many people believe that wealth is the result of luck or an extraordinary opportunity. But in most cases, it is the result of intelligent decisions repeated over a long period of time. It is the discipline of investing when no one is watching. It is the ability to buy assets before buying luxuries. It is the decision to study when most people prefer to simply consume entertainment. It is the choice to think long-term, while many people live only for the next weekend. These small decisions seem simple when analyzed individually. But when repeated for years, they can completely transform a financial life. If you look at all the points in this video, you will notice that they are all connected. First, you understood that earning money is not enough. Then you learned to direct a portion of your salary toward buying assets. Next, you discovered the difference between assets and liabilities. You learned to avoid lifestyle inflation. And now you understand the importance of building multiple income streams so that money works for you. None of these steps is a magic formula. None of them promises instant wealth, but together they form a solid foundation for anyone who wishes to build financial freedom over time. The good news is that you do not need to wait for the next year, the next promotion, or a great opportunity to begin. You can start with your next paycheck. You can start by studying a little more about money. You can start by investing a small amount. You can start by analyzing your expenses more carefully. You can start by buying your first asset. The most important thing is to start, because time will pass regardless. A few years from now, you may look back and realize you remain trapped in the same cycle, or you may be grateful for having begun your financial transformation today. If this content added value to your life, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with someone who also wants to build financial freedom. And if you are truly committed to this journey, write in the comments, "I will make money work for me." This simple comment can be the first public commitment to building your financial future. See you in the next video.